Hey guys, Art Decline here, Average Picker. So the other day, William Mansell, over on his channel, did a video on like picks everywhere or something, and he has a massive number of picks. It's pretty crazy. You also get to see a lot of the massive number of particularly padlocks that he has. It's pretty entertaining. And I thought, you know what? One of my first early videos was an evolution of my pick kit, where I just kind of looked at how my pick kit had evolved. I thought maybe it's time to kind of go back and look at that again, because things have changed somewhat. And so that's what we're going to do. You know what, now if you've ever watched, if you've watched some of my videos, you've probably usually seen over here somewhere a pile of picks, and those are all my kind of go-tos. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to I've got a couple new additions that I've just picked up, so I'm going to talk about those. I'm going to look at the picks that I would say are kind of my go-to picks, and then we'll probably do a second part to the video where I'll just look kind of at what's in the case that I don't use that frequently, but still have around. So if that interests you, I guess by all means stick around and let's look at some picks. And we're going to start with the two that I just purchased. Now, for anybody really new to picking, I do want to start off by just saying there is no magic pick. Really, I think there's this idea sometimes, you have some trouble with the lock, you think, oh, I need a different pick, and you might need a different one, but that's not necessarily going to just solve your problem of getting that particular lock open. And you see this, I think, too, on a lot of the bigger channels. Somebody will recommend a pick, and we go to look at it, and it's sold out. 50,000 people have suddenly gone over and bought it. But if you're having trouble with a lock, it could be the pick you're trying to use, but chances are the pick itself is not going to solve your problem. You still are going to have to be able to pick that lock. So just take that as you will. If we go through some of these, I may say something about the offset hybrid from Sparrows. It chews up ICEO locks. I've said that before. That does not mean if you're having trouble with ICEO locks and you buy one of those picks, it's going to solve all your problems, because you can pick that lock with a variety of things. So let's just get that out of the way. Anyway, so my two newest additions that I just bought is the Lunatic and the Matador from the Monstrum set from Sparrows. And it's kind of weird. They came in some little weird marks here and there. I've flushed a few of them out. But I got these because my DeForest starting to feel a little wear and tear, and I was kind of looking for a substitute. Or replacement for them. And I got to looking at these, and I thought, you know what, you don't see too much on these. We don't see many videos with people using these. Let me pick them up and give them a try. I've got to say, so far I kind of like them. They're not too bad. The Matador is kind of a steeper Attila, and this is closer, I guess, to a DeForest. Or some of the other, it's very similar, I guess, to some of the ones made by Southford that are like the DeForest. I've not used these a heck of a lot, so I don't have a whole lot to say about them. This pick, the feedback in it feels crazy sensitive. It feels very active inside the lock, and I'm kind of digging that. Unlike the ones, and we'll look at them in the other video, or in the other half of the video, the ones from Southford, you get feedback, but it feels like they're springy. And it's probably just because those are the Euro line. This is, in 25,000, so it's not gonna flex quite as much along that route. But yeah, so far I'm liking them, and it might be an adequate replacement. I'm gonna have to put them through their paces a little more, and we'll see. But yeah, two picks, you don't see them very much being used. So if you've got them, or you use them, or you like them, or you don't, drop a comment and let us know. So it's probably no surprise my go-to picks that I use most of the time. I'm not even going to put a percentage to it at this point, because I would just, by the end of this video, my percentages would be over 100%. It's still the Tron and the Attila. In fact, I bought a new Attila for myself since my old one was showing some wear and tear. I also picked up a new Tron. So I believe this is the new Tron on the top. Yeah. And this is the older Tron on the bottom. You can see it's a little more stretched out. We can talk about that a little bit maybe at the end of the video if we've got time. Yeah, still my go-to pick. Still really like it. Similarly, the Tron or the Attilas. So the old one, or the bottom one, is my old Attila. It has the tape on it. The top is the new one that I just got in, and I still find myself grabbing the old Attila. So you can see it's not as steep. It is bent out. It's flexed some, but overall, I'm still liking it. I mean, it has stretched itself down to where it's probably closer to a Tron at this point, just with a slightly different tip on it. So that might be why I'm still a little bit in favor of my older one. But yeah, still really like that pick. And those are the two I probably grab the most. I think my full dent has seen better days. I got this one after hearing Pin Tickler sing its praises. And he was right. It's a really nice little pick. It's one of the ones I made. I kind of modeled after the full dent. That little rounded bit just is real nice for just sliding into and feeling out the pins. Mine is a bit bent. It's lost some of its lift, and that's just because I've inappropriately used it some. But yeah, I still reach and grab this one quite a bit. It's a handy little guy. I would probably put this on my short list if I had, and in fact it is on my short list because this is the first video. So yeah, if I could only have a handful of picks, I would probably include the full dent. And yeah, good old DeForest Diamond from the Praxis, Dangerfield Praxis set. Still gets quite a bit of use. It has lost a little bit of its lift in there. Still digging it. And again, as I mentioned, it's why I kind of moved over to I started testing out some other ones that are similar-esque, that maybe they'll replace this one. The thickest in the Praxis is what, 23 thousandths though, and that still makes this a really handy pick to grab. The Monstrum picks are in 25 thousandths, and they can get into spaces that might not, that just hearing 25 thousandths might suggest they can't, and that's because of that narrow shank that a lot of them sport. But going down to 23, this guy is still quite handy and is definitely on my short list. So a couple of the others that I keep in just that pile off to the side, these are just kind of basic hooks, again, out of the Praxis Dangerfield set. I don't grab them very often, but I keep them over the left-hand side just on hand, because sometimes you get some little trouble with the lock and you just go, you know what, let me just go grab a basic pick, see if that makes a difference, or what that can tell me is going on. So yeah, I don't use these a whole lot, and I use these ones, I've got some short hooks and other standard hooks from like Sparrows and stuff. I tend to use these ones from Praxis because I'm starting to care about them a little bit less. So if I overwork them a little bit, I'm not too worried about it. So, and the last two that I keep off to the side quite a bit, you don't see me use them very much. It's the Sparrows Full Glide and Half Glide. And I'm torn, guys. I don't pick these, I don't use these on video very often. I use them more for funs, I guess, when I'm just picking myself. And I do really like them, and I also do find them not as useful. Now, I know a couple of you actually really swear by these guys. I want to like them more than I do, and maybe I need to start pulling them out and using them in videos more, and kind of pushing my luck with them a little bit. I feel like if someone told me to design lockpicks, and I did not know what lockpicks look like, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I didn't have any way to look up any information, I feel like I would actually design the half diamond or something a tipped off half a diamond. Let me put it that way. I don't know if I'd put that big, like the exact pointy tip that half diamond has. And then if somebody said, yeah, no, improve on that, I feel like I would do something like this with that curve. It doesn't show up on video all that well, but they've got a really nice little kind of dip and curve up on them. And yeah, I'm kind of torn. Like I said though, I do enjoy picking on them, but I use them more just for if I'm just playing around, having some practice and stuff. I'll sometimes grab these and see what I can do with them. But still, they stay in the pile off to the left-hand side, which is where I tend to keep the picks I use the most. Now this one sits in the case a lot, but I do still like it and I come to it a lot. And this is the High Reach from Sparrows. This one's in 20,000s. They make it in, I think, 25 as well. And I often confuse it with the Steep Hook. I kind of interchangeably call them both Steep or High Reach. This is the one, it's got the little dimple that is on it. Yeah, especially for 1100s, Lock Lover turned me on to using this in the American 1100 locks, and it does work really well. The little dimple they put on the end, you're supposed to be able to feel the tip of the pin with it. In 20,000s, not so much. Yeah, I mean, I can't even believe they managed to get that dimple on there. It's not super effective. You can definitely feel it more on the 25,000s, but the 20,000s is the one I prefer. So it doesn't get a whole lot of use, but when you grab it, yeah, it gets you right up there against those pins and works very well. And the other one, these are all in 20,000s again. These are the offset hybrid, I think is what they're called, from Sparrows. And I liked them so much that I've got 3 of them. And if you have a discerning eye at all, you're gonna see that all 3 of these are in slightly different shapes. So this is kind of a closet pick for me. I keep it in the case. But yeah, there's some, especially some of the Euro cylinder keyways. Man, you can grab one of these and it can chew through it. I mention them most often with ICO locks, but they work really well. I don't think I have one sitting around in any keyways where the lifts aren't real high, but you're going to be picking up close. You're going to be picking off the warding and close to the pins. These slide in there really nice and they get them lifted really nicely. They are also very bendy. It does not take a whole lot of abuse to get them kind of out of form, but they still retain a fair amount of functionality even after they've kind of bent out. I think this is my older one, this top one. I think these bottom 2 are the newer ones, I believe. Looks to be the case. So this deformation here, it can get in the way a little bit with the pins, especially as you get way deep into the back of the lock, but it's still perfectly functional and works, I'd say, about 85% as much as it ever did when I got it. So yeah, I keep these in the case, but I will break them out. Once you can recognize the keyway that these are good for, yeah, you'll know right when to grab them, and they usually do the trick. So let's see if we can pile them on each other like that. Does that tell us anything looking at that? Yeah. Yeah, you can definitely see some difference in there. So yeah, there we go. Just a little glimpse at the picks that are normally always just sitting over here in this pile when I'm doing a video, and that's just kind of that's my go-to pile, I guess. And not a whole lot has changed. Maybe that's to my detriment that not a lot has changed for me as far as which picks I prefer to reach and grab first. Since I did that first video way back, or these are just decent and solid enough. The variation it's definitely all narrowing towards Sparrows picks. I find them to be good bang for the buck. And that's about it. Though now that I've been making more of my own, I get a little torn. I can't make a pick for what I can purchase one quickly from Sparrows for, and I can't make one as precisely necessarily to what's in my head. But yeah, the making them kind of fills in this gap, and I'm starting to use my homemade ones more and more and more. But we're not going to go through those. But yeah, there we go. Can't go wrong with the Attila and the Tron, I think. Those are just really solid picks. And I've been using them repeatedly forever, I guess, as my go-tos. Anyway, so in part 2, we're going to go and just look at what sits in the case, and is probably collecting a lot of dust at this point. Though a few of those I do still reach for. But anyway, yeah, hopefully this was mildly interesting. Like I said, if you're a new picker, I'm still a fan of get a basic good pick and learn that pick to its absolute limits. And that will start to give you a mental image of what you need. I'm going to use the Tron as an example. If you learn to use the Tron really well, and you start running into problems, you will start to have this mental image of going, oh, I just need more lift. In which case, maybe it's time to start looking at using like a DeForest or just a steeper pitched thing. But that vision, I feel like that mental image just kind of comes with some time. And you just no one pick is going to necessarily just solve your picking trouble. It's not. Yeah. That was a little collect my thoughts, a pause. But I was going to say, no one pick is going to solve your picking trouble. It's because it's not really like construction or building something where someone says, hey, you know what? If you had a hammer, you could get those nails in a lot better. And they're absolutely right. A hammer will put a nail in better than a rock. But picking, there's a lot more flexibility in picking. It's not saying, oh, if you just had that pick, you're going to be able to 100% pick that lock. Not going to solve your problem. But I thought I'm going to double back a little bit here and mention about the picks getting stretched out a little bit, because I think I came at some of this a little bit reversed. I've started to view my picks now more as just the tools they are from when I first started. And maybe it's a budget thing. When I first started, the budget was tight. I didn't want to spend a whole lot, and it made me very careful with the picks. But I still think I did a little bit backwards, because we know, by the numbers, new pickers tend to use really heavy tension, and that tends to bend and break their picks out a lot sooner. I used to use really feathery, light tension, and I think part of that was because I was very acutely aware you only needed light tension, and I was also, again, very concerned about my picks. Though I think I've become a little bit more jaded with in all this time, and I find myself now sometimes just cranking down tension and going, it'll be fine, and just picking through that heavier tension than what I probably need to be doing. And I probably should go back and correct myself a little bit on that habit. But yeah, I think I've just I have found a little bit of leeway. I've found some more, that there's more wiggle room in there, and that, the pick is just a tool. It's going to get worn out. I don't need to try to preserve it necessarily. This is not an endorsement for going out there and just putting tons of tension on and snapping picks left and right. If you're snapping a pick every couple picks, you're doing something wrong. But yeah, I got a little bit less concern about them. Yeah. And I think that's probably just a time thing. Your picks are a little more precious to you, I think, when you first start out. Maybe there's something that just feels irreplaceable about them. I know I really love the one that Fast Charlie made me. He's made me a couple, but this one I love, and I am pretty careful with it still, just because this is irreplaceable. So I use that one a lot too. I should have mentioned that one, but what's the point? Because you can't really purchase that one. So anyway, guys, that's it for part one. Maybe it's been interesting for you, and I'll do a part two today or tomorrow or something, and we'll look at some of the less used stuff and my thoughts on it. All right, have a good one.